I want to talk about everything from how you can find investors, how I've found investors, Real Estate Lab. All right, guys, now's the time where we're going to talk about investors. I don't think we have yet talked much about investors, but we're going to go over it in this video. I want to talk about everything from how you can find investors, how I've found investors, all the way through how to manage them, and then kind of the process I go through in terms of raising capital on a deal. That we might do another separate video on that as well. But at first, I just want to talk about how do you find investors, or who are investors. So there's a million different ways to do it. I've seen people do it in all different, with all different methods, all different, targeted types of investors. And so let me just go over, I guess, the basics of what types of investors there are, and then we'll get into like how to find them. So the first type would be like friends and family. Obviously, it's the easiest ring of investors to hit. Friends and family, people you know, your family members, if they have capital to invest. It's always the quickest and easiest source to tap into because you obviously already have these pre-existing relationships with them. They might already have some trust in you, whether you're new or not to the business. It's normally the first and easiest source to tap into is the friends and family. After that, I'd say is kind of like your extended network. So friends of friends, referrals. Referrals are huge. Obviously, once you get your first couple of investors, really dig in and ask for referrals. I think over half of my investors have come from referrals at this point, which is obviously a good thing. When people are happy, they like what you're doing, they're going to send other people, their friends, their family, your way to invest. So that's that. Friends and family is kind of like that first category. Next, you can get into these kind of targeted categories of high net worth individuals and high earners. I'd say those are probably two different categories right there. So high earners would be one, people that make $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year or more. They have high paying W-2s, high paying jobs, and they have a lot of expendable income or investable income. They've saved up a lot. And these are people anywhere from maybe late 20s to in their 50s or 60s, right? They could even be retired, have large retirement accounts. A lot of my investors have come from this category. I would say, you're talking finance positions, doctors, dentists, attorneys, consultants, investment bankers, like high-paying positions in companies where people are earning high W-2 wages and have a lot of income that they can invest. So that's another great category. The next one I would say that kind of goes along with this private investor whole category we're talking about here would be the small business owners, small to mid-sized business owners, people that have a $1 to $20 million net worth. They earn a lot at their businesses. I've got people I have one guy that owns a couple state farm agencies. He's invested quite a bit. I have a guy who owns a company that packages and sells nuts and candies and stuff like that. He invests a lot. So, there's lots of different types of these small business owners that we tap into. They make a lot in their businesses and they want to go invest it, right? They already invest a lot into their business, but they want to take their money, put it elsewhere because they know how to make money in their business day to day, but they want their money working for them. And they might not want to be like fully active, buying their own property. So they want to passively invest with you. So another category, is the small business owners. Then you make your way up into like ultra high net worth individuals, family offices, private equity. These are other sources. There are actually lists out there you can get of private equity companies and family offices. Now, these groups normally will be writing much larger checks instead of the private investors who write maybe $50,000, $25,000 to $50,000 on the low end, up to $1 million on the high end. You're talking with private equity and family offices, you're talking about multi-million dollar checks, $1 million probably being the low end, with I'd say $5 to $10 million checks being like probably the preferred size of check to write. They are going to have different expectations from the private investors up to the institutional or private equity type of investors. when you raise money from private investors, right, these individuals, you are going to have a lot more control of the deal. One, you're probably going to have a lot more of them, and they're all going to be at smaller amounts. So say you need to raise $2 million, you might have 20 people put in 100,000, right, or a variety of different check sizes, but you might have 15 to 30 people in on that deal for $2 million. Now, because of that, you're going to have a lot more control. You don't have any one investor that's got a significant amount. They're not going to be checking in on you every day, right? Because this is one of probably many investments that they have. It's not their whole life savings they put into one deal. It's not a multi-million-dollar check they're writing. And so you're going to have a lot more control of the deal, a lot more autonomy, a lot less people breathing down your neck, right? And really checking in on you, as long as you communicate. Obviously, communication is important. We'll get into communication on the management side. Managing investor side. So that's that for private investors. For institutional investors, you are going to have somebody kind of breathing down your neck and really paying a lot closer attention, right? These are sophisticated groups. These groups have experience investing with, you may be one of a couple dozen sponsors they invest with. They have systems on their end to track the progress of the deal, to track how you're doing. And they're also going to have influence in the operating agreement that's put together on the property. They're going to be a partner with you, more so than the limited partners where they're just writing these small checks and they don't have any decision-making or any voting powers. The institutional investors are going to have decision-making, right? They're going to be able to decide if you refinance, if you sell, when you sell. Major decisions they're going to have influence over. Now, it's typical for you to still have day-to-day control on the operations side of the business, but they're also going to put in language in these operating agreements normally that say, if you mess up, if you're screwing up, if the property is really not performing, and they might put some metrics in there like, hey, if we have 3 consecutive months of 75% occupancy or less, you're not hitting your NOI targets, whatever that might be, they can kick you out and take control of the deal. And so you definitely have a lot more eyes watching you with these institutional investors. It's a little bit more of a strict setup. Definitely make sure you're investing with the right people. If you go with these institutional investors, some of them are sharks, and they won't hesitate to just screw you over. And so that's the nature of the business. So you just got to be really careful, have a good attorney reviewing that agreement when you're setting it up and negotiate that well. So those are the different types of investors. Now, how do we find them? Well, as I mentioned with institutional private equity, there are a lot of lists out there that you can buy. I'm trying to think. There's one software I remember is called like Fintrix or something like that, where you can get financial data or data on these financial companies, these big family offices and private equity companies. You can actually pull lists of them and then start reaching out, contacting, see which ones are interested in real estate, go from there. You could go to networking events. There are a lot of conferences for private equity groups where pretty much the goal is to go there and network sponsors and private equity, right? They're trying to find good, solid sponsorship shops, GPs where they can invest with you and they can trust you and build a relationship over time. And so there are conferences specifically where you can go to meet and network with these private equity and family office companies. So that's one way. With the individual investors, it's a little bit more of kind of like a grind, right? It just comes over time. And the way I did it was, I first sat down and I just wrote down a list. I was like, okay, who are all the people I know or I think that have money, right? Who are all the people I know that I think have money and I think can invest, 25, 50, 100K into a project. So I just wrote down this list. I maybe got like 15 to 20 people down. And so I started contacting all them. What happened in the beginning was most of those people did not end up investing. As some of the people I thought had money really didn't have as much money. And it's funny, like the people I really didn't think of, I've had people come to me now. It's like, wow, I didn't really know you had, a couple $1 million, invested in stocks or this or that. And like you could, carve some out to invest in real estate. And so that was interesting. But I went to tons of networking events. I went to tons of conferences, real estate conferences. You meet a lot of people at these conferences that have the ability to invest. They either want to learn and get in on a deal before they do it on their own, or they're looking to just go out there and meet people that they can invest with, or they're not, they're not privy to our investment world, and they don't know it's possible. And once they figure it out, they're like, oh, I can invest money from my IRA into real estate. Oh, this is great. Like, yeah, let's link up. So that's just a grind, and it's a process. Like I said, you're gonna have to go network a lot, get yourself out there, talk to people, give them the pitch, constantly talk about what you're doing, and you're gonna start attracting people that want to invest in your projects, right? It's just a process. So in the course of a couple of years, I've built a list of 600-700 really solid investors. Not a massive list by any means, but they're all qualified. And I've had a little over 140 people actually invest in my projects in the last 5 years. So it just takes time, right? It's a grind. And every time you go under contract on a deal, you probably don't have all the capital raised beforehand. I know I certainly didn't. Most of the deals I still do, I don't have all the capital raised before I go in and start the deal. But every time I go and push myself to raise more and more capital, I'm finding new investors throughout that process. I'm getting more referrals. I'm talking to more people. I'm building up that list more and more and more and more. So my biggest tips would be networking events, conferences, social media. I've raised a lot of money through social media. Be active about what you do. Talk about it a lot. You're going to get a lot of investors interested through social media. Set up a lot of phone calls, a lot of meetings. Go get coffee. Like, you're going to want to meet and build rapport with these people if you're going to raise a lot of money. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some effort. It's going to take a lot of rapport building. So that's kind of the methods for finding. I'm sorry, there's no secret sauce in terms of investors. I have not found a place yet where you can go buy a list. You can certainly partner with other people that can raise capital, but if you want to raise money on your own, which is kind of what I'm talking about now, those are the best ways to do it. You got to hit the streets. You got to get out there. You got to meet people. You've got to network, and you've got to build that list. Get your pitch down, have maybe a potential deal, a pitch deck that you can show people as an example, at the very least, if you don't already have a deal that you can sell at the moment. But yeah, it's a grind. You got to get out there, and you got to put some handshakes together and face-to-face meetings, and you're going to start to get investors more and more on this list, and you're going to start to have more and more people writing you checks. So that's finding investors. Now, how do we manage them? Once we have investors, it's important to continue to groom them, keep them informed, let them know, show them you're an active company. And the best way to do that is setting up email or text campaigns. I do email campaigns where we send out either a monthly newsletter, updates on our projects we're doing, all that kind of stuff. So you want to keep these people informed, keep them in the loop. Let them know you're active, you're making moves, you're out there looking for deals. Even if you don't have a deal, write a newsletter about the market you're in, or write a newsletter about deals that you looked at and didn't work out, but hey, this is our process. I want to let you know that we took a run at these 4 deals this month. We made offers, we came close, but we didn't knock any of them down just because A, B, and C, right? This one was overpriced. This one was a little had too much renovations that it needed, so we were really conservative. But hey, we'll keep you posted when we do get a deal in the contract. Stuff like that. Just communicate about what you're doing in your business. People will start to see that, take you seriously, and understand that, hey, you're a true company. You're not here just for one deal in and out. You're here to stay, and you're serious, and you're legit, and you want people to see that. So having a website is really good. Having some knowledge on that website where it's talks about how does it work, investing with you, and then sending people to that site, whether you post social media content, YouTube videos, whatever it happens to be. Just push people to that website. You could even do like rolling advertisements on educational videos or topics, right? Try and funnel people to your website to sign up for a phone call with you, so that you can get on the phone with them, talk to them about, hey, what's going on with real estate investing? How does this stuff work? And so that's worked really well for me. Funneling people to the website has been awesome. Every time somebody signs up, I get on a phone call with them within a couple days or a week at the most. So I talk to every single investor that comes into our funnel, build that relationship, take some notes on them, and then the next step is putting them into some sort of investor management portal or system or software. And at first, I just used Excel. Honestly, I just had a list in Excel, like what's their anticipated investment, some notes on them, what are they looking for, types of returns, where are they from, their contact info, and I just managed all that in Excel. Now I use a software called Juniper Square and Syndication Pro. I have 2 different ones, and we love using the software just because it really helps manage everybody. They have a portal where they can actually log in view investment opportunities. They can view their past investments, and it shows the statistics, distributions, all their documents, like their tax documents, their signed PPM and operating agreements for the deals that they've come in on. They can see and manage all that. So it's kind of like an investment portal, right? Or it is an investment portal, and it makes you look really legit when you have one of those. So I would say there's a couple good ones out there. Juniper Square is the most expensive. I don't suggest using it for beginners, but it is solid. It's a little more institutional. I've heard Invest Next is really good. Invest Next is really good. Syndication Pro, I've used that as well. Very solid. There's a couple other options out there. So do some research and figure out which one works best for you price-wise and feature set-wise. But definitely, I suggest if you're serious, you're getting in, you're raising a lot of money, you really need to use some sort of investor portal to really have that legit front-facing software so that investors can see and manage their investments. And then you can manage, it's a CRM, right? So then you can manage, set up follow-up reminders, tasks, all that kind of stuff, and take notes right within the software on everyone that's coming in and investing in your deals. So highly recommend doing that. So that's kind of a general overview. How do we find investors? What do we do once we have them? Obviously, you set up that phone call with them every time a new investor comes into your ecosystem. Get them onboarded and tell them about what you're doing, what's coming up, what you have in the pipeline right now. Send out your newsletters, keep people informed, and then once you have a deal, we're going to go into this in the next video. Once you have a deal, we're going to have a little process around the capital raising system. So I'm going to go into that next. Check out the next video. We're going to talk about raising capital.